Hey, this is Mike from the Run Testers, and this is our multi-tester review of the Nike ZoomX Zegama. So here's what you need to know about the Nike ZoomX Zegama. It's priced at £144.95 in the UK and $160 in the US. This is the first trail shoe from Nike that includes its ZoomX midsole foam. That's included in the Vaporfly, Alphafly and the Nike Invincible. It weighs 317 grams in the UK size 9 and 295 grams in the UK size 8. There's a 4mm drop, which we understand is 37mm at the heel and 33mm at the forefoot. There's a mesh upper up front in the toe area, and there's elements like an ankle gaiter to prevent debris from the trails invading. There's a thin toe bumper up front with a padded tongue and decent amount of cushioning around the heel collar. In the midsole, there's a full length of ZoomX, and you've also got the SR02 foam there too, which was included in the Nike Vaporfly 5 and surrounds the ZoomX to help offer some stability. On the outsole, there's 4mm lugs in a multi-directional pattern to handle a good range of terrain.
When it comes to fit, I actually tested out a 8.5 in the Zegama, which is half a size down on my normal size, and that fit me really well. I find with Nike's trail shoes in general, going half a size down works better for me, even though in most of their road shoes I wear a size 9. There are a couple there where I'm a size 8.5, but yeah, if you're kind of between sizes, I would go half size down, because you are getting a big roomy toe box, which is obviously great for long distance trail runs, but even in half size down, I have loads of room in the toe box, and I wouldn't have any concerns about my toes hitting the front of that on long trail runs or running down hills. So yeah, very happy half a size down. So
fit for me was generally okay in my UK size. Now I did initially have some concerns in my first run where I thought maybe the shoe fit a little bit snug and there might be scope to go half a size up. I think over my running time now, a bit more running time in this shoe, I think it's generally been absolutely fine. I think you get a decent amount of space actually here, and it gives you a little bit of room, or enough room, I would say, to get let your toes spread out like you would want in a kind of trail shoe that you're going to go out and run a little bit longer in. Elsewhere, the midfoot, I think you get a nice kind of good hold here. You're getting a good amount of padding, I think, inside of the heel here as well. So you're getting that kind of comfort there at the ankle as well. And then you've got this kind of sock-like top of around the collar as well, which kind of hugs a little bit closer to the foot, so you're stopping any kind of debris getting into the shoe as well. Elsewhere, you're getting kind of a nice padded tongue that kind of sat really nicely and comfortable on the top of my foot, and those laces don't kind of pressure on the top of that tongue either, so it's nice and comfortable from that point of view. It's a mesh upper, pretty standard, definitely a mix of kind of what you get in the Pegasus Trail and the Terra Geiger. I think in terms of the kind of protection and the feel that you're going to get in the shoe, I think it's almost a cross between those two. Not so much protection up front. Here it's very kind of thin, so I wouldn't think it's a shoe that you want to go in massively really technical kind of trails. But yeah, from a size and kind of fit point of view, I would say go true to size based on my testing.
So I've done a lot of kind of cruisy, easy runs in the Zegama and tested it out over a decent range of trails. I haven't had to do too much in the wet in the shoe, which is a good thing, because when I have gone into the wet, it hasn't been very good. But yeah, I've done like canal towpaths, some road, lots of forest trails, a bit of single track in the forest, and kind of gravelly paths. And it does grip well on pretty much everything when it is dry, I will say that. Overall, I think I quite like the shoe, but I really struggle to see where it's going to stand out in the trail running shoe world. As a big fan of the ZoomX foam used in Nike's road shoes, love the Invincible, obviously love the Vaporfly and Alphafly. I was hoping you'd get a nice, impressively bouncy feeling from the shoe. Now, obviously Nike had to tame that a little bit for the trails using this carrier foam to make it more stable, but at the same time it's tamed so much in the Zegama that it just becomes like another trail shoe. Like, it's got ZoomX written on the side and the ZoomX in there, but you're not getting a load of bounce or anything like that. It's comfortable, for sure, but it just doesn't really stand out from the pack as a result of the way the foam is being constructed with this carrier foam. Stability is great. I'm all for stability on the trails, but if you're going to make a ZoomX trail shoe, maybe you go, well, this isn't the most stable, but it might be the most fun if you're a certain kind of trail. And what instead you get here is a pretty good trail shoe, but nothing too exciting. So I'd take, like I say, the ride is undeniably comfortable, and if you're going out for very long runs, I think it's another good option to have available on the market. Got a reasonably smooth ride on good runnable trails. I do find it slightly unwieldy on rutted ground or uneven ground, like when you're landing at an angle on some things. the midsole kind of just drag you around a bit because it is a very high stack. It's not the most flexible shoe or forgiving shoe, but it's not generally been a big problem at any point. But yeah, it's not the most nimble of shoes. Like I say, the ride overall is fairly dull. It reminds me quite a lot of the Hoka Speedgoat 5, but the Speedgoat's got a really good rocker and much better grip, and I think I prefer the ride of that. It just helps me tick over on long distances. Like I say, this can sometimes be a bit jarring on uneven ground, and although it is smooth and pretty comfortable and it disappears in the foot quite well, the ride just doesn't really impress me in any particular way. It's not very lively, it's not very nimble, it's just kind of okay on all fronts. And then when it comes to grip, it's not okay, it's a little bit worse than okay. Like, it's been fine on everything in the wet, and even on like soft kind of muddy ground, it's actually okay on that. Like, it does slick around a little bit, but it's more when you're hitting edges of things that are slightly wet, so like a rooty section of a run when it's a bit slick and the roots are slightly slippery. Like, lots of shoes will struggle on that, but this struggles more. Like, I'd slip off everything, you know, on that kind of thing, and the same would be on wet rocks, that kind of thing. The area where you really want grip to shine, it just doesn't really. This rubber is quite hard and just kind of slips off things. Like, I have found in the past with Nike trail shoes, like after more use and you really start to rough up this rubber, it does start to grip a little bit better. But certainly things like Vibram outsoles or other kind of Continental rubber, that kind of thing, do grip better on wet, hard surfaces than the Zegama has. So that is another thing to be slightly wary of if using the shoe.
Okay, so into that run testing, and I have to say I was looking forward to running a lot more in this shoe, mainly because you've got that ZoomX midsole. It's the first trail shoe to have that ZoomX midsole foam in here. You know, I've experienced running in the Nike Invincible and also the Alphafly as well, and obviously that midsole foam is used to kind of great effect in terms of creating something that's bouncy, soft, enjoyable to run in. Now, does the Zegama replicate that feeling of running it in those road shoes? I would say not quite. It definitely is a different feel. It's not that same excitable, lively feel. You can get a nice smooth ride in this. I think it really depends on the kind of trails that you're kind of running on mainly. But I think you've got that extra, you know, it's not just a ZoomX midsole in here. It's full length, but you're also getting that extra SR02 foam that Nike uses here as well, almost that's there to kind of create, almost balance out that kind of liveliness that you would normally get, or kind of the soft kind of cushy kind of feeling you get from the ZoomX midsole. And what I think that creates, it almost dampens, I think, the feeling of running in this shoe. And I think when it was good, it was definitely good on kind of soft to firm kind of surfaces, even kind of a mud that's not quite got, you know, slushy and kind of sloppy from the rain. And I felt like I could kind of get that nice, enjoyable, smooth ride from this shoe. I think on the kind of slightly more technical, kind of rockier terrain, I didn't feel I got the same sensation from this shoe. I did feel like it offered a decent amount of protection, you know, not getting a massive amount of protection, I don't think, here in general in terms of the elements of this shoe, but I think it felt fine. I felt confident to run, you know, in that kind of rockier terrain. But generally, I would say, unless it was kind of a long kind of stretch of kind of easy, kind of, as I said, firmer to kind of soft kind of surfaces, that's when I really felt the shoe worked best for me. There's also an issue, I think, and it's generally a problem, I think, for Nike shoes in general, is that the outsole hasn't been great for me when it's rained and I've had to go through kind of wetter conditions. You know, these rubber kind of lugs don't quite work in the same way, and it's something I found on the Pegasus Trail, on the Terra Geiger as well. So yeah, if you're running, or particularly going to be running in rainy, wet conditions, and you're worried about what this is going to feel like, I definitely feel like the traction isn't fantastic. I think you're on dry trails, you're going to be absolutely fine. So yeah, for me, the Zegama, the ZoomX Zegama, I think it's good in places. I just think, you know, I was expecting it to really kind of, you know, explode in the right kind of terrain, the right kind of trails, really bring that ZoomX kind of midsole foam to life. It isn't quite what I found you get. I think you get some enjoyable kind of, you know, running out of this shoe, but I think ultimately, I think there's probably other shoes that work a little bit nicer in terms of what I think Nike is trying to do with this shoe. I think even in their own collection, and I also think in other shoes that are out there too, outside of Nike as well.
So if you can keep it pretty dry, then the Zegama is a nice, comfortable trail shoe for longer runs. It doesn't bring the magic of ZoomX to the trails, and I'm not really sure what it's bringing to the market that isn't already there in better shoes. Particularly the Hoka Speedgoat 5, I think, is a similar shoe, but cheaper, better, more comfortable, better for running long, better for running short, and just has much better grip in all conditions with a really well designed Vibram outsole with little pincers on it and stuff like that to really dig into the ground or bite on hard surfaces even when they're wet. Other good shoes, like Innovate's long distance shoes, are really good. I probably prefer the Hoka Torrent as well if you're looking for a cushion but still pretty lightweight, long distance cruiser of a shoe. And the Saucony Peregrine's maybe not quite as comfortable as the Nike, but it's better on a nice mix of terrains, and it is still quite comfortable to go long in. I think it's a good addition to Nike's range because I think it lacked a really comfortable trail focus shoe. Like the Pegasus Trail 4 is a really nice shoe for road to trail runs, but this has got better grip than that, slightly more impressive chevrons and stuff that will bite into softer ground a bit better. This is more comfortable than the Pegasus Trail on long, hard trail runs as a result. And it's certainly more comfortable than the Terra Kaiga, which I didn't really rate it as a shoe very much at all. So within Nike's range, it's nice to have a long distance option in there, but without bringing like a particularly flashy ZoomX style shoe to the trails, Nike's just come and landed in this area that I think is already better represented by other brands, and certainly the Hoka Speedgoat 5 is an easy pick over the Zegama for me.
So my verdict on the Nike ZoomX Zegama, and I'll start with the good stuff. The good stuff being that you get a very nice, comfortable up here, what you would expect from a Nike shoe in general. I think this shoe kind of excels when you've got some kind of nice stretches of trail. I would say surface-wise, probably a little bit firm, but a little bit of softness to it. And I think you can get that kind of smooth ride out of this shoe. In terms of the kind of downsides, I don't think you really get that amazing kind of excitable, enjoyable ride that I was really expecting from a shoe with the ZoomX kind of foam in it, just because you've got that other foam in there as well. I think that kind of balances things out to give you a little bit more kind of protection on those trails. And then again, another outsole from a Nike shoe, which I don't think really excels when you're out in kind of wet conditions. It's that kind of rubber where it just doesn't really give you that traction. So I would say if you're looking at Nike's trail shoes, and based on my testing and how I've got on with those other trail shoes, the Pegasus Trail I think is a bit more versatile, and I think a little bit more useful. Again, it's not perfect on those kind of wet trails, but I think in terms of the feeling in that midsole and the ride that you're getting, I feel it's a little bit nicer in comparison to this. I think of other shoes that I've kind of really enjoyed running in that I think maybe sit in this kind of category for trail shoes. I would say things like the Hoka Speedgoat 5 I think is an all-round kind of solid trail shoe which has good grip on like a variety of conditions. You get a comfortable upper. The midsole I think works really nicely as well. You get a kind of a nice ride there too. I think if you're looking for something a bit more nimble, I would think things like the Hoka Tecton X. I think maybe the North Face kind of Flight Vective as well as another shoe. I think it's a little bit kind of nicer to go a little bit quicker, and can also work on kind of longer kind of trails and longer days out on the trails as well. So yeah, with the Zegama, I think it's good in places. It isn't the amazing kind of Nike ZoomX trail shoe that I was hoping. Maybe that's probably going to come later. I'm sure Nike will be working on that. But yeah, that's kind of my kind of full kind of review and take on the Nike ZoomX Zegama. So there you have it. That is our take on the Nike ZoomX Zegama, and I hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you've got any questions about this shoe, let us know in the comments. As always, like and subscribe, hit that little bell to find out about our latest videos, and yeah, we'll see you in the next Run Testers video.